Hey, there we go. Welcome back to the live stream. My name is Jeff Fritz, and today is June 18th, 2019. We're going to write a little bit of code today. How's it going there, chat room? Good to see you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the pair programmers that are out there watching, whether you're here live on Twitch, maybe you're out there on YouTube watching the recording. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's say hello. We've got DJ Vortex there in the chat room. DJ Vortex, so good to see you. Wheelchair Sean, good morning. Andre Samaras, good morning all. Good to see you. S4P0, good morning. Svava.
What mischief?
Oh, we're going to have a lot of mischief today.
Totes my goats.
Totes. C17R, thanks so much for that sub. I really appreciate that, and we'll, of course, make a donation to veterans who code. Very cool. Thank you so much. Legendary Moo. Yes, announcements today. We're going to talk about a couple things coming up. Robertables is here. Oh, heck. And Pat 1567. Hi, guys. Good to see you. We better gather our party before we hit this mischief. No, it's okay. Everything's under control.
Pac-Man Jr. just resubscribed for 15 months. Hello, finally catching you live in months.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Pac-Man Jr. I really appreciate that. Yeah, we'll make another donation to veterans who code. Oh, we're going to have a good time today. Rambling Geek, hello. So a couple announcements before we get into it. Check out the hat, huh? I got a Dungeons & Dragons hat years later. My gosh, I played Dungeons & Dragons 30 years ago. Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 1st and 2nd edition.
Rambling Geek just resubscribed for 10 months.
Thanks so much, Rambling Geek. I appreciate that as well. We'll make another donation. So it's been like 30 years since I played Dungeons & Dragons. I saw the hat. I am an addict. I had to have it. I was like, yes! That's amazing. I've got to get that. So I picked up the hat, and now it resides on my head. It's a red hat, so let's play red today. There we go. This is, of course, music to code by from our friend, Mr. Carl Franklin. This music's been scientifically designed. It's been engineered to get you in the flow, get you in the groove, so that whatever task you're working on, you'll get focused. It's amazing. All the things that you're worried about will just kind of fade away. And, let's see. There we go. And you'll have a great time doing whatever it is that you need to focus on, whether it's coding, chores, maybe you're working at a support desk, at a help desk, at a financial institution. Whatever task it is you might be working on, this music will help kind of keep all those worries faded away into the background and get you completely focused. Check it out, mtcb.pwop.com. Drop a exclamation point music command there in the chat room, and you'll get a link. All right. Thanks so much to our buddy Carl Franklin for letting us listen to his music here on the stream. I encourage you, check it out. Support him. Either get a subscription to the app or go out and buy a couple songs so that he can continue making great music that we can listen to here on stream. Let me come to your question in just a second there. S4P0. In fact, I'm going to copy that out and drop it into my notepad that I have over here so that I can be sure to come back to that. All right. So, a couple of announcements. I'm known on this stream for doing long-form workshops. And we did 2 great workshops last week at Dev Intersection. I'm at the end of this conference year. We're going to start up a new conference year in the fall. But since we're at the end of the year, I want to make sure that other folks have access to that material. All of the materials that I present in workshops at Dev Intersection and other conferences is always free and open source for anybody to get. The real value when you come to a workshop with me at a conference is being able to ask me questions and be able to show me what it is that you're working on so that we can get you past it. So, what I'd like to do is I'm going to run those workshops live here on stream in July. So, July 12th, Friday, July 12th, we are going to host Build Your First ASP.NET Core Application. This is not a simple workshop. You're going to learn a lot about ASP.NET Core fast. We're assuming you know a little bit about HTML and you know a little bit about C#. But we're going to go 8 to 12 hours that day, covering everything to get you started in building your first ASP.NET Core application. We'll put an event up in the Events tab up here above me, and you'll be able to bookmark that and follow along. Get the notification when it starts. I'm going to have a call out for sponsors because I know that there's folks that are going to be able to help me out by dropping some little 5-minute videos in there when I need to step away, because 12 hours behind the mic is a long time, and I don't want to just put a back soon video in front of you. So I know there's some folks that are interested in helping out with that. I'm also putting on the schedule July 19th, so 1 week later, back-to-back, 7 days apart. After we do Build Your First Application with ASP.NET Core, we're going to do Build Your First Blazor Application. This is a workshop that's been evolving. I'm going to show you the current version of it in July, and we're going to build an application, build your first application with client-side WebAssembly using C#. So you're going to write code that executes in the browser, compiled code that executes in the browser with Blazor. We're going to walk through that, and that one will be 8 to 12 hours long on Friday, July 19th. All right, it is going to be a very long format. We're going to see if we can bring in some MVPs, some guests to join us and help present these workshops. But I know that this channel is known for those workshops, and we haven't done one in a while. I want to get back to that, and I want to do 2 of them back to back. Give you an opportunity to tune in all day long, long format, really great stuff, all the fun that we normally have, but we're going to get through and complete a scripted workshop in that full day. All right? So that's what's coming very, very soon. It's about a month away. I'll put them on the events list here. In fact, I can probably do that real quick while we're here, huh? I'm not going to create a series. I'm not going to put an image. Let's just say, build your first ASP.NET Core application. And I'm not even going to give it a description yet. I'm just going to put something out there so that you can bookmark it. We're going to start at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, our normal time, and we're going to run until, I'm going to mark 7 p.m. Science and Technology, because I think it might go later. All right. Descriptions required. You make me sad. You make me sad. Long form workshop for folks new to ASP.NET Core. All right, Blazor is the server-side Blazor. Actually, we're going to do server-side Blazor today, but in the workshop, we're going to do client-side Blazor. Build your first Blazor application. Learn about client-side Blazor with Jeff. Let's start there. And this is the 19th. 10 a.m. until, and I'm going to mark this one as 7 p.m. as well. And we'll put an image out there. We'll get that all lined up. But there you go. If you check the events tab now above, you'll get all the information about those 2 workshops coming soon here on the stream. Any love for Xamarin? We did a Xamarin stream we did a Xamarin workshop back in October with James Montemagno. So we're not there yet. I'm going to copy out Rambling Geek's question. We'll come to that in a second, because that's a very good question that I want to make sure I hit. All right. Good. Hey, I am not myself. Good to see you. Yes. C# with the WebAssembly, Pac-Man Jr. Yep, that's where we're going to be for that one. But we are going to be working on server side. It is archived, DJ Vortex. You'll find it on, I forget if it's on the Visual Studio channel or if it's on James's channel on YouTube. But it's out there on YouTube. You'll find it. If you build it right, it doesn't make too much difference whether you use client or server Blazor. Yes. Use the use the component model, and it'll all work great. What? Visual Studio signed me out. How dare you? All right, let me come back to first question we had there was from S4P0. S4P0 says, I have a good old TFS project, hope to migrate it to Git TFS solutions with multiple CS projects inside a single solution. How can I achieve the same thing using Git? No binaries, only compilable code directly. You should be able to just lift your code and drop it directly into a Git project. Just check out everything local and add it to the Git repository, and it should just work. S4P0. That isn't too much of a problem. The second question from Rambling Geek: What are the pros and cons of server versus client Blazor? So, server-side Blazor means all of your code executes on the server. It also means that it is not delivered to the client. So you end up with a very thin client application that's using a SignalR connection to traffic data and user interface back and forth from the server. This means that none of your code, none of your DLLs actually make it down to the browser as well. That's what happens with client-side Blazor. So a con right now is client-side Blazor is very heavy. There's a lot of code that's delivered. However, once it's delivered, it runs really, really fast. Same thing could be said about the folks that use JavaScript single-page applications. There's a lot that happens there. There's a lot that gets delivered to the client side. However, it's not binary like what you'll do with Blazor. That also means the client-side stuff can be decompiled. So there's a little bit of risk with that, so you don't want to ship things like secrets down there. So, it's your choice. The other thing with server-side is it's going to maintain the state of that connection in memory on the one server. So right now, server-side Blazor won't scale past one server effectively because it keeps everybody's connection state in memory. So it's not quite there yet. Is that Rise? Rise Monangstrom. If you need to retain history, there are some migration tools. They are flaky. Yes. Yep. If you need to retain history in that migration from TFS to Git. However, if you're migrating from TFS to Git, just keep the TFS server around for a little bit. And just use that as your archive. You have many CS projects that are used in different solutions. Some you don't have access to in different country. That's okay. Yeah, state is a little bit interesting, Rambling Geek, with server side. That's right, I mentioned JavaScript. Hey, Gandalf 2010, welcome. Naveen Singh, good to see you. All right. I think that's all we've got here. Is that Sturmer Bjarnason? Hello, good to see you. Copper Beardy is here. Balds, what about offline? Well, if you're client-side Blazor, you could run offline. Yes. You could detect whether or not you're connected and behave appropriately. Certainly. All right. What do you say we get into this? What do you say we get back? I had one more question I wanted to answer. And this is a good one that I want to make sure that we take some time because this actually needs a code sample. And this is a question that was asked. Let me see if I can I zoom in? Can I? Oh, wow. You can zoom that. This is a question that was submitted to the Ask Jeff Anything channel here on our Discord server. So there is a Discord server that you can access. There you go. Click through and you can join us on our Discord server where we talk about all kinds of tech things that are going on. And there's even an Ask Jeff Anything panel here where you can click through, drop in a question, and we'll talk about it here on stream. And we have a question from Chris Jones saying, I'm currently working on an app using N-layer type of architecture. Let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit more on that so that you can see it here over my shoulder. There it is. Currently have an API domain and data layers. The purpose of it is it'll be deployed once, but we'll be able to connect to multiple test region databases, dev, staging, pre-production. I have it working currently, but I'm passing a parameter to the API to have the data layer where I have the context factory looks up the right connection string based on the environment. I've recently read the data layer shouldn't really know about the connection strings, so should I move this logic into the API layer, or is there another better approach I'm not aware of yet? So, let me boil this down what Chris is asking for here. Chris is asking about being able to change the connection string for his test environment or his dev environment based on what the environment is, what the environment's name is. There's a couple different ways to do this, and I want to make sure that everybody is aware of what you can do here with ASP.NET Core and the cool new configuration capabilities that are possible. So, let's take a look at that. I also want to make sure that I call out, we have our Rainbow Beard follower drive. If we get to 8,000 followers by September 15th, I will dye the beard rainbow for TwitchCon and .NET Conf. They're the same week. So tell your friends, tell your families, tell your pets, create an account here on Twitch, sign in, join us, click follow. It's free to follow. Just hit the little follow button right there on top. It's the heart here on Twitch. If you're on YouTube and you're watching, click that bell, subscribe. It doesn't affect this gauge, but we'll acknowledge you. We'll say thank you. Just like, I'm going to make sure I pronounce this right. Is that Reisman Angstrom? Thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate you joining us. We'll salute all those folks. Steve, our friend Steve, has said developers more than 6,000 times to folks, okay? Thanks so much to everybody who's followed, who's a member of this community. We really enjoy it. Enjoy seeing you here and talking in our chat room. According to 12factor.net, it should be provided via external configuration per environment. Yes, Robert Tables. Let's talk about that right now. So, what you can do with ASP.NET Core, and you can do this type of thing with just about any architecture, is you can first go to your code edit view. There we go. Hello. See? I'm back. And we can start to write some code.
And then?
Have it read the configuration appropriately. And
then?
Have the configuration different in each environment.
And then?
Just configure each environment with the appropriate connection string for that.
And then?
No more and thens. You need to make it one word, Surly Dev, and it'll do it. So this is the project we're going to be working on today.
And then?
Motown Andy just resubscribed for 6 months. 6 months. Wahoo.
Yeah, Motown Andy, I agree. Big woohoo. Thanks so much for your support. We'll make a donation to Vets Who Code, and you're going to now get a blue hat badge here on stream. The other announcement I wanted to make before I show what you can do with configuration here is, thank you, 9nix6. 9nix. Yeah. Thanks so much for the follow. We're getting some new hat badges. We're going to have a 9-month hat badge, a 18-month hat badge, a 2-year hat badge, and a 2.5-year hat badge are coming soon. We'll have those in the next, in the next week or so. They'll be here. Not all of the commands, all of the sound effect commands are in there. There you go. So what you can do with configuration in ASP.NET Core is actually pretty cool. So let's just create a new ASP.NET Core web application. And I'm going to put this in my dev folder. Sure. What, it didn't rename it? It didn't find out the new name to put it in? It used to count these up. It doesn't count them up anymore. It didn't. That's a problem. I'm going to report that problem here real quick. Create project. I have one problem that needs my attention. I do? Really? And I can't click it. Nice. Way to go. create project doesn't increment project name. No. When I create a new project in Visual Studio 2019, this is 16.2 preview 2. It does not automatically increment the project name from Web Application 1 to Web Application 2 if there is an application, if there is a folder named Web Application 1 already. Cool. No, don't include a screenshot. I should include a screenshot. Let's go back over here. Let's do File, New, Project, this. Right. Screenshot. Always got to report these problems. This is how we make the application better, right? I'm just going to put this on desktop, and we'll call this bug web app name. Okay, attach, and we'll go desktop, bug, there it is, go, next, sure. All right, so I'm going to call this web application, I don't know. Give it something that's there. Hey, Hugo, good to see you. T. Bertuzzi, good morning from Brazil. Good, great to see you. Thanks so much. It doesn't count project names. I know, Tab Akarov. Is that, or is it Tab Akarov? Let me know. I want to make sure I pronounce your name right. It's been doing that for years. So I'm going to choose just a web application just so I can get this started. And I'll tell it to make individual user accounts because it will give us a database connection inside this project. And I want you to see what happens here. If you take a look, app settings here has a database connection string. So to Chris's question, how do I change that connection string based on my different deployed environments? There's several things you can do. You can either swap out this file. That's one thing. That's not too bad to do. You can also know that configure web host defaults happens here. Configure web host defaults is actually being right. You can see the signature for it here inside of Microsoft ASP.NET Core. Check this out. I can look up the source code for that. ASP.NET. I think it's just ASP.NET. ASP.NET Core. Go. All right. And I'm going to look for, not that. This is inside of generic host builder extensions. All right. Generic host builder extensions. There it is. All right. So if we take a look at this, it has configure web host. Yeah, that's fine. Generic web host builder. Let's see if it's in this one. Yeah. Here it is. It does the configuration here. So it configures, and you can see exactly how it's adding configuration. And you can see that it configures environment variables as well. So we can also swap out that by defining a environment variable called connection strings, default connection, or whatever your connection string might be, and put that environment variable into the environment on those machines you're deploying to. That way your connection string is being set outside of your application. It's coming in as an environment variable from that other place. Okay? So that's one place you can store it, is inside of the environment variable. The next thing that you could do is, of course, have a different app settings JSON file sitting in each environment. Or you can also name your environments by setting the ASP.NET Core environment variable to whatever value you might want it to be. So you mentioned you have dev, staging, pre-production. So, right, by default, if you look inside properties here under launch settings, ASP.NET Core environment is set to development. So you could also set it when you're in staging, set the environment variable there to staging, and have your staging environment configured to do whatever things it needs to inside of its project. So a great example of where we test the environment name is here. We say if environment is development. We could also do if environment is staging, is production, or is some other environment name. Pre-production, if there's maybe some logging or some extra actions that you want to take specific to those environments. Okay? Final thing you could do is a combination of the two. Set the environment name to staging, and it automatically loads an app settings dot whatever environment name JSON and overlays those settings over your configuration. So you could put an app settings dot staging dot JSON file out here, carry that through source control, so when it gets deployed to your staging environment where you have this environment variable set, it'll pick up and use the appropriate new file that has your configuration in it. The application is only going to be deployed once, but I'd like to be able to connect to various dev databases that a user would select from a UI to connect to that database per request. So you want to put those connection strings somewhere where they can be looked up, and you want them all to be available in the same application. In that case, I would have different keys for them inside of here. Right? I would have... Thank you, Visual Studio. It's so good of you to keep up. Mike Eaton.
_Eaton just resubscribed for 11 months.
Thanks so much for that. I appreciate. I very much appreciate you joining us for 11 months, almost a full year. That's pretty impressive. Thanks so much for that. And we'll make another donation to Veterans Who Code. So maybe this is dev, maybe this is stage, maybe this is foo, maybe this is Eaton's desktop PC. And you want to be able to connect to each one of those. Well, you're going to have these keys somewhere. And when you do startup here, right now, it says use SQL Server connection get connection string. You can create the entity framework on the fly if you'd like. If you need to go through that, you can create it on the fly, or you can allocate the database context, create a connection pool for each one of those individually here, so that you can request it by name and access it. So, Google Calendar's down. What? Wow, look at that. Google Calendar's down. Man, the Googleplex is not happy. So, those are a couple different ways that you can go through and deal with that. Funky, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate you joining us. And look forward to seeing you in the chat room.
Oh my.
Yeah, there we go. So, all right, there's a little bit about some of the things you can do with configuration. Loading up different connection strings isn't too bad to do, and you should be able to load those. Just pass in appropriate keys or configure separate connection strings to pass into your data layer. So I am going to add a big green check mark here that I've answered that. If you have questions that you want answered a little bit more than just a quick solution, drop a question into Ask Jeff Anything here on the Discord server, and I'm happy to get back to it. on stream. But don't put DB passwords into Git or somewhere public. True. Very true. Key Vault or similar service works as well. Yes. Very good point, DevLead. Key Vault will be loaded automatically for you if you're running on an Azure app service. So let's go back to the resource management. Dynamically display the connection streams in the UI. Reading a config file and then give EF the connection string. Yep, there you go. There's another good way to do it as well. Lots of good alternatives to skin this cat to get the problem solved. All right. So, let's see. We talked about the hat. We talked about the workshops. We answered the question. We've got badges coming. I've got more emotes coming. I want to rotate emotes. If you look at the list of emotes that are available, there's 2 emotes that nobody ever uses because they're tier 2 and tier 3. One is a caricature of me and one is the super C# logo. I've got 3 more emotes coming. We'll hold on to one of them and we'll put 2 new ones in at the tier 3 and tier 2 subscription level, and we'll make those we'll rotate 2 of the lesser used tier 1 emotes so that folks can start to use the caricature and the super C# logo. So that's coming. I've got new intro screens coming. We're gonna spruce up the layout here a little bit, and for that July workshop, things are gonna look much, much cooler here if I design it right. Know what I mean? So my approach to this, blah blah blah. Sorry, boss, I missed my appointment with you because Google Calendar was down. Yeah, that's not going to go over well. C# hype. It's C# hype bot, I believe is what it is. Planning on using VSTS secrets to replace them when I get that far. There you go. That works. Yep. Mobile keeps buffering. Yeah, I know. Mobile buffers a bit here on Twitch. All right. Let's get into this. Let's talk about this today. So, when last we were over here on the show, we were talking through saving and interacting with values here inside of a inside of a Blazor component using ASP.NET Core. We're outputting schedule items. A schedule item has a start time, end time, a name, and we have the ability to key those in here. See that? Look at that. I've got a... Yeah, what do you see there? And this works. We're able to do various things here. That shouldn't be... It should be just like that. What I had going on here was I had the value... I had the value here. So when you do this, it's flipping the values, the capabilities of these input boxes. So they're now C# boxes. And when I compile and run this, it'll use these as though they're C# boxes, binding to them appropriately. Server side, we're using server side Blazor here. And my function down here should be able to interact with those, grabbing status, and eventually updating, saving things into the database. Problem I ran into is I put value here and it didn't actually pull the value back into my object. I changed it to binds the provided expression. Yeah, it's a text box, it's okay. And that worked. Now, I'm using ASP.NET Core Preview 5 because the database provider that I'm using doesn't support that. It doesn't support Preview 6 yet. So some of the new syntax we can't use yet. We will, but it's not quite there. Right, let's just double check real quick. If I go to Tools, NuGet Package Manager, yeah. Manage NuGet packages. Sure, that. Where is it? NPG. This one. So there was not a preview 6 version here. So I don't have a version that's compatible yet, right? If I look at the updates, when I try to do the update here, it just didn't, it broke on me. What's the consolidate? Logging. Yeah, I'm not going to do the update. We fought that last time and nothing worked. So I am skipping the update on this. Hey, Electric Havoc, good to see you. Someone's at the door. Oh, okay. We'll wait for you. No problem. Go ahead. Don't mind us. We'll just sit back. No, kidding. Totally kidding. All right. There we go. So when I change this to bind, it now saves the schedule items properly, and we can see what it looks like. I also changed the name of my component to availability, not underscore availability. Because I want to make this a component that you can only include and not an endpoint, I also I had a page directive up here. When you include a page directive, you're specifying a routing endpoint that you can navigate to and get this component. Well, we don't want that. I don't want folks to navigate to this. So, took care of that. Let me show you what it looks like right now, and we'll get into some of the user interface design stuff that we're going to do today. Right? Of course there were build errors. Of course there were. I can't get away with this, can I? Can I convert lambda expression to object because it is not a delegate type? You're kidding, right? Void, add new schedule item. Saying I can't do that. What did you do to me, compiler? So if I make this just add new schedule item. See, now it's going to go compile. You can see it's compiling right here over my shoulder. And it's still not going to work. Nope, build failed. Why? And now live unit testing is taking over and just killing me here. Oh, good. Okay. So I changed the name of my component, so I need to change that. Let's see if I can get this to work. Hopefully I can. Good, build succeeded. All right, well, come on, run it.
Make it so.
I'm going to, Picard. There we go. Update live on stream. I did that last time, and I spent an hour chasing .NET versions, and they never worked. So. And the one that it kept blocking on was that Postgres reference. So I'm not going to do that. Oh, don't have my Docker container running. There's the bot. Let's see if we can get the container running. There it is. This one right here. So I'm going to Docker start. Containers. Oh, there's Robert Tables. All right, start 51. Start that back up and running. Good. So if I look at the list that's running, there it is. So now I should be able to connect. And it should find it. There we go. I'm logged in already. Fantastic. Click through to my availability. And I should now be able to schedule an appointment. So the 18th to the 19th, this is when our friend Quill Tony, she's running a class in my town. I click add and it doesn't work. This is the problem we ran into last time and why I used that syntax. You're kidding, right? You're kidding. I'm clicking breakpoint and we're going to go to the circle of patience here. I did that, DJ Vortex, and it said it doesn't work. Lord Dracos. Yes, this is a little bit of ASP.NET. And Visual Studio is kaput. Oh, man. Oh, man. Friends, we've got a problem. Tell me about it. We got a big problem. So I had used that syntax.
Oh my.
I know. I had used that syntax. Even if I put the curly braces. Right, then I got to put a semi in here. It didn't work. Cannot convert lambda expression to type object because it is not a delegate type. I think that's full of it. I think that's wrong. Right, that is valid syntax. I know. Oh, guess what, Surly Dev? Guess what?
Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah, I've got that now. No, I didn't have it in the curly brackets. You don't have to because it's only one statement. Right? Do that. See, it's not. Oh, okay, now we're finally hitting it. You punk. There we go. Yep, so I reset it and okay, good. So it is now properly saving to the database. I've got this junk here. I just have it outputting the information. That output of information looks hideous. So what I want to do today is I want to put over here a grid, a schedule block, something that looks better to demonstrate and show here's what your schedule is over a certain period of time, a schedule grid. What do you think, chat room? Can we work on that? Hello, little Dan45, and Michael Jolly's here. Good morning. Good to see you. And, yeah. So we're going to rub some DevOps on it. Maybe output to a calendar, asks Z Lucient. That's a good idea, too. A CSS grid, maybe. I'm not very good with CSS grid. I'm not, it's not something that I've used. My intention, my thinking was, let's use Bootstrap to set up a little bit of a grid that we can fill in. What do you think? And we'll figure out how that works together here on stream. Don't you need the @ in front of onClick, asks Goran how. You do with the new version of Blazor. However, the new version of Blazor doesn't work. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do just to show and give something that is clippable. Clippable? Sure. I always get the name of this repository wrong. Get status. Yep, that's fine. Let's add everything. And actually, we're done the authorization. I can change the name of this feature. Can now save initial set of schedule items. You can save them. It's not pretty, but it works. I'm going to key in my key here in a second. Key in my key. Yes. Wait a sec. Ooh. I typed it wrong. Nope. There we go. Alright, I'm going to push that because I know that works. What I should do is I should merge it into dev and bring it back. I'm not going to do that just yet. Let me show you what happens when we upgrade. I don't want to do .NET outdated because it finds the newest version of this. Alright, so I'm going to go through click updates. Now, if you look down here, these are all preview 6 versions. Okay? So I am going to let NuGet do the straight update to preview 6. So I'm going to select everything and say update. And let it update all the things to preview 6. There it goes. I accept. Yeah, it's a dialog box. Accept. Go away. Shoo. I don't care what's in it, and you can do whatever. And now we have this coming back. Why'd that come back? Right. So the package manager looks good. The build looks like it's working. Okay. So far, so good. if I go back into, I'm not going to look at, we need to start changing the name of some of these things, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Let me close these CS projects. Availability. Now this needs to be at onClick and at bind and at value. Actually, value, does value need to be flipped? I thought it did. Flexbox for layout. So I'm not familiar with Flexbox. Maybe we learn a little bit about that today. But we've already got, what's it called here for us? Bootstrap. Is that Kyogi? Thank you for the follow. I appreciate you joining us. Look forward to seeing you in the chat room. So now if I tell it to build, let's see if this will work. Last time we did this, it failed miserably. Oh, server just fell over. Good luck. I know, functions is now code, which means all of my... If I had written a lot of pages, they would all break. But what has been happening, there it is. My database provider doesn't support it. Could not load type entity framework core query expression translator member translator. Because I'm using Postgres and the Postgres library I'm using has not been updated to work with this. Okay. So I can't use it yet. So I need to roll back. I can't move forward until my database provider supports it, because they changed entity framework and they broke the interaction. So we'll have to wait. Blazor does now have cool auth things, yes. So we'll need to refactor that. Why Postgres? Small, fast, easy for me to run in a container. I'll be able to swap it out and use a different provider when I get deployed into massive cloud scale. But small, fast, easy for me to run in a container. The footprint of that container, look at this. Right? Right here. Robert Tables, what is it to get the stats on a container? There it is, Docker stats. And that was 51. CPU is nothing. It's using 8 meg of memory. 8 meg, right? The I/O is nothing here. If I was running the SQL Server one, it'd be gigantic. It'd be stupid big. So it's pretty small. It's something that I don't need to spend a lot of time with. So because I'm using an ORM, an object relational mapper entity framework, it can swap out as needed the various database providers as I deploy. So let's do that. Let's keep it small and tight while we're here in development mode, and then scale to huge, massive cloud scale when we're ready for that. Is that almost 2 gig limit reserved or used as needed? Used as needed. All right, so moving forward, that's why I'm going to stay on preview 5. It's not fun. It's not fun knowing that I'm blocked by my database provider, but I am. Don't have to worry about that. Broke or improved? Yeah, broke my code. Didn't improve my code. It broke my code. Right? I'm going to have to go through and find this statement everywhere and replace it. I'm going to have to go through and find all my attributes inside of components. I'm going to have to redo their syntax. It is not a trivial migration. So, now there was a comment about I could use Flexbox and CSS, Flex and CSS Grid, and I can do anything. Well, we'll see about that. So I want to put. I started on a day picker to sit next to it, so that I could have the ability to choose what days are appearing that I want to show. And I just started, let me lay out some divs and spans, and we'll figure out the classes and things to put on this, because I know I need to output at the least this amount of layout, so I can do previous month, next month, and have a calendar that sits at the top of my screen to show. Right, I want to be able to choose a day and be able to see here's what's going on that day below. Maybe I can see 3 days in columns going across, right? But I want to be able to see. Oh heck, let's mock it up in Excel. That's a great idea. Way to go for not suggesting that, chat room.
Bueller.
We'll figure this out. All right, here we go. Let's do this. Blank workbook. Let's mock this up real quick. So what I'd like to be able to do is over here on this side have, add new schedule item, or whatever it is over here, right? And on this side have something that says my schedule, right? And have the calendar here, so you can see exactly what it is that you're doing there. Merge these cells. Where is it? Merge cells. There we go. Thank you. Bold, and I want to center it vertically. Thank you. And down here, have your schedule grid, right? Schedule grid. Something like that. Hey, Namazri, good to see you. Flexbox is great, but hard to understand initially. Well, the Simian, maybe this is where this is why I refer to folks in the chat room as pair programmers, because help me out. Is that a technology that I should use to generate this component that I'm going to build right here? I have the calendar I've started over here, and I want to put that schedule grid right below it that looks like, right, 7A, 8A, 9A, right? And then eventually you have something across here that says, doctor appointment. I was going to say chiropractor appointment, but I don't care what doctor you're going to. Come on. Where's the... Okay, merge and center was here. That one, right? Bold, vertically center, right? And each one of these has the grid-like layout. So I have all the borders, right? Looks like that. CSS grid is easier to pick up. You can use both CSS grid or CSS Flexbox to generate them. Nice. Is it worth using Docker in small local projects? Asks Lord Dracos. I think it is. And I'll tell you why. Because this isn't going to be local for long. At some point, I'm going to push it out and have it run on the cloud. By using Docker locally, I get past that works on my machine problem, right? And, right, I have that logo, right? Works on my machine. So this way, I'm working with a container that I can put out on the cloud, put on a hosted server, and scale that container as need be. But when I'm a developer running here locally, keep it small because it's only my test data. Yeah. Oh, here comes Robert Tables. Absolutely. Not to mention you can use different runtime versions without worrying about updates. Yes. So, and if you want to combine them, unlimited power. It's amazing. Thank you for the follow, Lord Dracos. I appreciate that. Let me make sure I'm pronouncing your name. Is it Lord Dracos? Lord Dracos? Help me out. I'm happy to make sure that I'm pronouncing your name properly. Sarah Dressner made what? What did Sarah make? Let's see. This one? Open. Let me see what we got here before I go open it. Small tool CSS grid generator. Designate rows, columns, gaps, and units. I can open that over here. Neat. Okay. And let's see what that does. Happy Fruit. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate you joining us. 6645, I think that'll put us at. So much fun. Selva, welcome. It's good to see you from dialing in from India. Excuse me. I got an ice cube in my mouth. Pardon me. Everylayout.dev suggests Robert Tables. Relearn CSS layout, the stack, the box, the center, the cluster. That's what I end up building is the cluster, because everything that I build ends up, I don't have it here. I don't have the sound effect I'm looking for. Ends up looking like a cluster, and then I was going to censor myself. You can do it! No, I'm not going to do it. I do have that. Dialing in. Are we in the radio? Yes, absolutely. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks so much. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, all kinds of different grids. Gary Vasey, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate you joining us. This is a pretty cool reference. Okay. And what, you can click through and actually get the... yeah. Now what? Right. So I click through and so what? It doesn't tell me anything about the layout. Oh, is available in a full version, which is still in production. All the current layouts are marked read now in the index page. Oh, I see. And there's a blog post. Effectively, it shows you how to do it. Well, that's nice. Okay. So... long-time listener, first-time caller. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. Great to see you. Hiya, hiya. Thanks for tuning in to the Jeff Fritz Show right here on Twitch.
People know me.
They do. Can you send links here? Yes, you can, Lord Dracos. It'll be inspected by the bot, and we'll see the title of the link before anybody clicks through to it. All right. Good. Okay. And you can also, if you do post through an image, the image will be inspected, and artificial intelligence will tell us what's in the image right there in the chat room. You just called to say Baba Booey. Baba Booey, Baba Booey, Baba Booey.
Houston, we have a problem.
I know, right? 2019 State of CSS. Ooh, okay. All right. I like learning me some CSS. It's been forever since I've done CSS effectively. So, this, in the web development family, JavaScript has developed a bit of a reputation as the angry, rebellious teenager. Nice. Nice.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
CSS, on the other hand, has always been the studious, well-behaved kid who always stays polite and never makes a rash decision. However, the browser developers don't always implement CSS the same way. But it is getting better. State of CSS survey, create and maintained, download our data, other links. Cool. Okay. So this is all being done with CSS and animations. That's pretty cool. Right? There's something to be said for good CSS being able to take over and do animations and things. What about investigating CJSS? No. Ed Charbonneau wrote some Sass. Okay. Nice. So, let's try Sarah's grid generator over here for building out what our grid's going to look like. I want to build initially the calendar control that I want to put up at the top here. And that calendar, right? I want to have the 7 days of the week, right? I want to have the 7 days of the week, and I want to have arrows on both sides of the 7 days so you can navigate. No, I'm going to have the 7 days of the week underneath the month. Yeah. So if I do 7 columns, and then in order, I did it.
And then,
In order to have the appropriate number of rows, I'm going to have a top row with the name of the month. I'm going to have a second row that has the days of the week.
and then,
A grid that has 5 rows. So that's 7 total rows that I need. Excuse me. So the Simeon, I'm thinking I'll have the name of the month in the middle 5 columns. The outer columns, I'll have the arrow in the first row. 5 minutes to write HTML to the page. Rest of the day fiddling with CSS. Yes, and that's what we're doing here. So how do I get it to span? No. So if I want it to span across that. Okay, that's pretty cool. This, that. Yeah. Each one of these is a thing, etc., etc., the rest of the way down. What does this do? Oh, man. That's pretty cool. So if you want a column to be 2 spaces, set it to 2FR. What does FR stand for? Thank you for...
Booty Boy just subscribed.
Thank you for the subscription. We'll make a donation to Veterans Who Code. Thank you. Hork01520. Thank you. Fractional units. That would make sense. Okay. Let me turn off all of these because that feels like it's confusing things, adding all of those in there. So that'll give me my 3 divs across the top. Right? Where, yeah. Right? Not using Bootstrap. So I am using Bootstrap, but we're taking a look at using CSS Grid here. See if that... Sorry about the name. You're a vet and you program. Well, that's terrific. Yeah, we're going to make the donation here. At the end of the quarter is when we'll get the final collection, and we'll send that out sometime shortly after that to Veterans Who Code. Vets Who Code. And I need to start identifying, for third quarter, I want to identify a tech-focused charity that we can support that's more global, a little bit more available to everybody in the world, because we do have an international audience.
Shout out for #VetsWhoCode.
Thank you so much, Michael Jolly. Yeah, absolutely. And 10 other folks, thanks to Twitch's support for Pride Month and the Trevor Project, 10 other folks are going to get Pride badges in chat. Thanks so much for the support. Yeah, check it out. So Semaphore got one there. There you go. Quiet Steels. Hello. Veronica Hex, so good to see you. Let me start with this little bit of CSS. I feel like I want to take this CSS and throw it out into a CSS file for managing the schedule. And this is going to get a little bit hairy, I think, quick. If I start putting divs for each one of these other ones. Right? Is that how you do this? And I mean, I'm going to end up then with div names for all of the dates that go out there, and that's going to be a little crazy. Threnan, yo, good to see you. All right, let's start with that. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to create a CSS file. In ASP.NET Core, all of our static files, like CSS files, go into our CSS folder here. And I'm going to create one specific for scheduling. So let's create a new item. Style sheet. And I'm going to call this schedule CSS. Thank you. There it is. So I just copied in that I will call this, let's call this month picker. No, well, we're not picking a month. Yeah, month picker. Because we're from a month picking dates. Grid for structure, flex for flow. Draw your design, but you have X items in one area. You want to switch from flex to flow inside the grid cell. Electric Havoc, I'm going to look to you for some help then. Shadow Stancer asks, why is it when running an ASP.NET Core application in Visual Studio, it doesn't move the dub root to the bin directory? Well, dub root is our static content, right? We're not compiling that. So it doesn't get moved into the bin, the compiled output directory for our project. So let me just answer that question real quick. If I open the folder, right? So here's what my folder looks like. Let's turn off the navigation pane. Goodbye. Right, so here's all of the files that I'm writing. All of my code that I've written has been compiled up and is sitting in here, including compiled versions of all of my pages and components that I've been building. All this other stuff that's here is just is code that's going to be deleted. It's not going to be referenced. When we're ready to publish this, when we run publish, we'll get our bin folder and our dub root will be what's delivered to the final location. So that ends up being mighty nice to work with. Jump Twice. Yo, good to see you. Booty Boy says, I'm not good at C#, but I do know CSS. FR is a fractional unit. It is a flexible unit. One FR is one part of the available space, so you have a grid with 5 columns. One fractional unit in width. Each column will have a width of 1/5 the total container space. Makes perfect sense. Okay, I'm good with that. So I've pasted in the information here that we got from the tool. I'm going to just do some indenting there. This is SCSS. That's not CSS. Complete guide to the grid. Right? You can't do that indenting in CSS, can you? I thought that was only in SAS or less that you could do that. Where did they take that? Is that now a feature in regular CSS? So div 1, now what is the grid area? What does that mean? Right? Am I going to get a little bit of help on this? Fantastic. Only in the compilers, yeah. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. There we go. And move that back. Cool. So I'm not going to call this div 1, and I want to actually nest this. I did like the nesting, so let's do... Really, Visual Studio? Really? Are we going to go through this today? So what I had called div 1 was this one here, where I'm going to put the month name. So let's just call that name, because it's in the month picker, and we'll call that name. Div 2 was this one over here, which is going to be the previous month. So let's put month picker. Thank you. And I can actually, right? I could do these as IDs instead of classes, can I? Yeah, let's do that. And we'll call this previous month. This was month picker. Yeah. Next month. So those should lay out properly for us, right? Quick 5 seconds on the layout you're looking for, high level-ish. So I'm going to have a label at the top, my schedule, with a calendar beneath it so you can choose which day in the calendar. And the schedule grid below it will have the times, the hours down the side, and we'll have blocked out the items, the schedule for that time. And maybe we have 2 or 3 days going across so you can see a few days in the week, or maybe just one day. I don't know yet. But I'd like to have at least write a column with the times and blocks indicating what times you're not available or you're scheduled for work. Hey, Welsh Ronaldo, good to see you. So, Copper Beardy has a link to the complete guide grid from CSS Tricks. Yeah. This is the type of thing that we're going to be doing. Something like that to start, and eventually, when we have our schedule items, we'll have to go across those. I think we're not just going to go across them, but we may have some things that, if this is like 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., if you have something that's from 8:30 to 9:30, we want to start in the middle and go to in the middle here. So that might make things a little bit more interesting for how we span these, right? We're gonna have to figure that out. So grid column is start line, end line, start line. Yeah, I don't. Hang on. Let me make sure I understand this. We're gonna move you over here. Let's go back to this. Right. So grid area. What is grid area? All right. So you have a grid area name. Okay. I get that. Grid template columns, grid template rows, grid template areas. Whoa. Grid area 2, 1 span 2, make item 1 start at row 2, column 1, and span 2 rows and 3 columns. Ah, okay. So it's row, column coordinates, and span rows, span columns. Ah. This project is showing last updated May 17. Isn't it being pushed? Check. We're on a different branch. Check. So resource management is the project we're working on, and we are on the auth2 branch because we're building the authorization capabilities. I should merge and start this as a new branch. Merge this into dev and start a new branch. Why don't we do that real quick? Just to keep things a little bit clearer here so that dev branch is up to date. We have authorization working. Thank you. Yes, create the pull request. Let me do that real quick so everybody has it working properly. Yeah. Good. Merge. Completed initial authorization capabilities. And we'll add something from auth0 to do authorization later. We just wanted to get it launched. But folks can now put a pull request out there. I merged into master. Damn, I didn't want to put it into master. Delete the branch. Good. So looking over here, there's master. There's also a dev branch. I pushed it into master. I should have pushed it into dev. Bad Jeff. I know. So let's merge it back into dev. That's a terrible idea, but we kind of have to. Okay, now I told it to squash and merge, but everything's still out there. Fine. Completed auth. See, this is going to be weird. Oh, auth0 would be a fine choice. There's lots of options for that, but I just wanted to get it into the box. Okay, that's merged. So now dev has the right version of those things. Cool. Yeah, I know. It's bass backwards there. All right, so now if I go back over to my version of it. No. That's closed. That's fine. Good. All right. So now if I go to my code, git checkout. Let me go to dev, right? Yep. I don't want to add that just yet. I'm going to delete the feature auth 2. Git pull. I can't pull origin. I'm going to pull upstream. Right? What are my remotes? I need to add upstream. Right? So upstream is typically the version that you're going to be... No. Right? The centralized version that you're doing. Git remote add. I have that backwards, don't I? There we go. Now I can say git pull upstream dev. It'll grab the dev version, put it down locally. There we go. I can push that now to my origin, which is my version on GitHub, so they match. Good. Let me check out master and do the same thing. Git pull upstream master and git push. So now those match. I'm going to go back to dev. And now I'm going to start, let's call this feature schedule UI. Okay. And I'll do that. So now it's created the branch on my version that's out there. All right. There we go. I've done the Git dance. The Git dance of joy, right? Git foo is... Oh, thank you, Pac-Man Jr. You've been watching for a while. You know it didn't used to be. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that the source code's out there, and you see the ticker up at the top. I want to be able to take pull requests and things so that folks can contribute and participate in the project. There we go. Reload. All right. So I have... All right. So let me make sure I got this right. So row 1, column 2... We're spanning 2 rows, and we're spanning 7 columns. Why is it spanning 2 rows? Right? Do I have that right? Am I reading that right? It's not spanning 2 rows. It's spanning only 1 row. Electric Havoc has a code pen for us. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I want to come up with here. Previous the month next. Display grid template columns 1 fraction, 5 fraction, 1 fraction. Grid template rows. Justify items center. And a border. Okay. See, that looks so much simpler than this. 1, 2, 2, 7. Why is it 1, 2, 2, 7? If I want to make it take up 5 spaces, make it 1, 5, 1. See, that doesn't make sense to me looking at, right? It's taking up 5, but why did it give it, right? Div 1, it's saying 1, 2, 2, 7. And of course, this doesn't tell you how to do that. You make me sad. Okay, name, row start, row end, column end. Okay, that's why. It's row end, column end syntax. Okay. So that makes sense. We're starting on row... Alright, so row 1, starting on column 2. we're ending on row 2, before row 2, and we're ending before 7. That makes sense to me now. Okay. Those make sense. So that will place those appropriately. Yeah. The ending statements are not inclusive. Everything should be inclusive. I want a very inclusive stream here. I'm kidding. Totally kidding. All right. Yeah, let's go with that. So now I should be able to use... Let's put this on the side here. Well, hang on. And let me go back to the component. So this was my... I call... Really? Really? Put it over there. Okay. So I should be able to now... Right, so I was just putting these here. So I've got my top navigation row, which is... Right, I'll call it month picker. So I'll put that here. Class equals... Hey, month picker. All right, so div ID, this first row, I'm just going to call it nav row, just so it's there and I know what it is. Do I need to put these in divs or can I make them spans? Right, if I call this prev month, right, this one, I'll call name. Next month, cool. And that should just work. And I want to include my day picker. Span might take on the width specified by the fraction as it's not a block element. Well then. Change that to div then. And Visual Studio does change right at the other end of this to div because it knows that that's a tag and they should match. Remove the inline styling up here. Why? I could see passing that in from the outside. For right now, I want to leave it there just to get past the way this looks. So I'm going to go here to the availability page. Right, so right now I just have div availability and I say render the availability thing. And I'm going to put next to this, we'll call this my schedule. And let's put a nice H3 that says my schedule. And we'll start rendering that component. Right, await HTML render component async. It's resource management, web, components, day picker. And I'm not going to pass anything into it. And that should be it. Let's see what it looks like. Width plus grid, bad idea. Why? Inline styling will trump any CSS statements. Yes. Go, run. Do it. Do the thing. Okay. So it didn't put it next to it, and it didn't lay out the grid at all. Like, it looks really bad. Which also then leads to the question of, did it actually include... No, it didn't include the schedule CSS. So we're going to need to include the schedule CSS. Let's see here. I'm going to grab that out of... Is it in host? Sure. Actually, no. Let's go here. Layout. Link rel equals, yes, style sheet, href equals CSS schedule. Thank you. Is it going to reload it? Grid is developed to be responsive. Adding hard-coded widths reducing your responsiveness. Okay, so I'll make it like min width or something like that. God. Go. Did I break it? It's like rebuilding the page behind the scenes here or something. Yeah, I've angered it. I want these two to be side by side. They're not going to be side by side because they're divs. You know? So let's just make these inline display inline block. Just to get them next to each other. Figure it out and we'll move them around. Let's see how we go here. Yeah, the inline styling will be cleaner in the CSS. I'm just trying to get it laid out first. And actually, if I move it to the CSS, I'll be able to restart without any problem, but won't I? Better. Still not great over here. This looks hideous. Right? Look at this. So it's got the right number going across. But clearly in this nav row, that button, I mean, it's picked up the definition here for the grid, and it's in the right cell, but these other ones, it didn't move appropriately at all. I mean, it's picked up and it's trying to apply the grid area. Why didn't it play the end then?
And then?
Right?
Hey, listen.
Yeah. I'll have to look into that. There we go. Can I show the HTML? There it is.
And then?
There it goes. The class thingy? What class thingy? The computed one? Is it because I have this div to organize the rows? Do I need to get rid of that one? I'm willing to bet that's what it is. Right? So it feels like then I'm also going to need to remove these. And that's going to become a whole nother kettle of fish. Right, it was not affecting the grid I wanted. This is not the grid you're looking for. That's better. And the spans are actually laid out nicely. Right? Look at that. They're even in the right grid item. Right? If I click through into one of these, there it is. Feels like your extra divs would interfere with the layout. Yeah. So my dates are going to be simple to throw in. Absolutely. Right? So... Right? If I select... Right? So there's that. Come on, give me the thing. Thank you. Right, if I do text align center, that's going to feel good. Text weight. Right, we make that bold. Why didn't you like that? Oh wait, it's font weight. That's why. Okay, good. We can worry about font later, but the two buttons are simple enough. I've got those. I feel like the spans for the day headers, I'm going to want to have not just for the day headers, but also for the days in between. We're going to want to put a consistent formatting on those. That's centered, bold, so that you can click on those and do different things. So that's really cool. Right? So if I bring these back, do I leave them as spans? Grid gap for separation. I'm not sure about using separation. Bootstrap is available. It's on here. Wrong answer, Fritzbot. Hotplay, it is here, but I'm not using... we're trying out, and I'm learning, CSS grid as part of this. Let's start there. So if I say...
Knight0323 just resubscribed for 4 months.
Thank you so much, Knight0323. I appreciate that. You've got a red hat now, and thanks so much for joining us for all that time, and we'll make a donation to Veterans Who Code. So if I just go after the spans that are inside this, and I give those, like we were looking at, text align center, font weight, bold, and we'll do something more with those in a minute. The name also we did. We want to do text align center, font weight, bold. So we've got that taken care of. Now I need to figure out for the month, what day does it start on, and allocate that number of spans across, empty spans, so we start on the right day of the week as we build out the days of the week. Thank you, Frank. You like the Dungeons and Dragons hat? You like that? You could also use CSS Grid and maybe use a Bootstrap for button styling. Yes, CSS Grid is the most impressive removal of styling syntax from the HTML yet. Okay. I'll tell you what, I will commit this, and if you're interested in showing a little bit of that, how that works, you'll be able to send a pull request and we'll take a look. Is it a shout out to Stranger Things? No. Nope. All right, so if we need to figure out what's the first day of the month, what day of the week the first day of the month is, we need to do a for loop to that first day of the month's day of the week, right? So let's create a little function to figure out how many days to the first day of the month, right? The day of the week of the first day of the month. Yeah, right. So if we know the day of the week is going to be between 1 and 7. So if we create a property, let's make it an int, first day of month, day of week, right? And that's going to, we're going to have a get on that. And we want to return start date dot, how do we get the first day of the month? So we have a date that we're starting on. This is the date that we're selecting and we're starting off of. So the first day of the month is going to be start date dot add days start date dot, and it's going to be, it's like day of month. Isn't there day of month? Day. That's it. Day of the month represented by this instance. -1. And we're going to take that whole chalupa and we're going to multiply it times -1. So we're going to add a negative. So if we're on, right, today's the 19th, the 18th. So we're going to add, right, -17 to the current date to get the first day of the month. So now we've got the first day of the month, right? Yeah. Yeah, we could do it that way. Fine. Right. Var first is new date time. Fine, we can do it that way. Start date dot year. Not stack. Start date. What? Start date dot month 1. So we're not adding. That's fine. So then we're going to return first dot, where is it? Day of week, which is an enum. We're going to convert that to an integer. Cool. So we know the first day of the month as an integer. So we're going to have then a for loop. I don't care. Do we need to start from... Yeah, start from 1. I less than 8. No, I less than first day of the month, day of week. So if the first day of the month is Sunday, this will come back as a 1 for Sunday. Right? Sunday is a 1? No, Sunday is a 0. Crap. Fine. So we're going to go less than that. So if it's Sunday it starts on, we won't create any spaces here. You have to draw the row either way. Yes, but I want to count out the number of spaces going across. Code Rushed is here. Hello. Yes, you like the D&D hat? Thank you. Thank you so much. Say hello to our friend Code Rush. There he is. Let me throw a quick shout out to our good friend, Mr. Mark Miller. Come on, bot. I asked you to do a shout out. It's not going to do the shout out. All right. Looks like I got a couple bugs in the bot. Make sure you check out Code Rushed. He's doing some really cool stuff over there, actually building Dungeons and Dragons applications to manage. But I do have to, well, I'm going to get to a point here where I'm just going to do a for loop and just spit out all the spans for all of the days, right? If it's just spans going across, I need to determine how many blank spans I need to output. So that's what I'm going to do, is just output blank spans. And I can then do, write a for loop till the end of the month. Right, int last day of month is, right, we're going to say new date time. Start date dot year. Start date. Well, wait a sec. I can do return. The first day of the month is that. Add months 1. Add days. -1. Now I've got the last day. And I want to return that day. So I've got the number for that. So I can now do, after I've got the spans there, for var I equals 1, I less than or equal to last day of the month, right? Span and at I. And that should do it. Easiest to think of dates as a linear timeline, kind of overlook the weeks, 31 days things. Yes. Yes, Simeon. So, right, we'll do date localization later, right? For my customer that I'm dealing with now, my use case is an American organization. So I'm going to skip some of those things. And look at that, it formats all nicely for me. Right, because that looks just like my June calendar. Fantastic. Oh yeah, I am heavy with this save button, Control S, lots of times. So that looks good. This does what I need it to do and fills up the space nicely here. I'm pretty happy with that. That was quick and easy to build with just a little bit of CSS. No, I don't want to save that page. No, I don't want to save that page. All right. Now for the hard part. Do you see what I see? Help me out here, chat room. I saved appointments and they're not showing up here. Right? If we put in Quiltoni's class, add that, it shows up. And now it's gone. I don't think it actually got into the database. Andres suggests you may want to add a class for the row of day names so that the style of the days in its name is different. That's a good point. I like that suggestion, Andres. Let's drop that in real quick here. Day name. Let's just call it day so that we don't have any more than we need here. That's not right. You know what? I should have done this with the multiple cursor. Can we do that real quick? Can we show how that works? Right? Isn't it alt click? Is it alt click or control click? Or is it alt control click to get multiple cursor? There it is. Alt control click. Day. That's interesting. It didn't complete that everywhere. Mr. Regs!
Mr. Regs just resubscribed for 10 months.
Thank you, Mr. Regs. I really appreciate that. So let me control click through here again. And we'll make a donation to Vets Who Code. That's better. All right. So now if I go back over here, I can say month picker, picker dot day, and let's say background color, gray. So now that'll be grayed out. Cool. That's easy. When you shift alt click, you can also drag the mouse so you don't have to click. Yes. No, if I shift alt click, it highlights. Shift alt click doesn't do anything. There is, if you alt click, you can go like this. Anyways, all right, so that'll take care of that. I have that layout. What else do I need to do here? So that gives me my day picker that I want to put at the top. And I'm reminded of Dayman from It's Always Sunny. Been broken since implementation. It's coming. It's coming along. All right. So that works. Let's put underneath availability now. So I have my schedule. Beneath my schedule, so I want to have it in the same column. So I should put it inside the same div. And to the point earlier, we should put this on the container, right? Which would be on this. So let's go up to the top. And here I'll start to move these things out. My schedule width 20 EM is where I had it. Good. Suggest change MMM to MMMYYY. Ooh, good point. Because eventually you're going to want to change that and be able to see the years. Not enough M's? I've got too many M's. There, that's better. So next I want to put below it the component that'll show the grid, your schedule grid. So let's do this. Await HTML render component async. I feel like there's a using statement missing that I have to put for its resource component web components. You know? Can I do that? Can I make that up there? So then I can do this. Right? That just feels better. You know? Go away, Karnak. Thank you. Thank you. Let's add another component, and this time I'll make this I'll call it day view. Seriously, every time I say that, I want to sing Dayman. Defender of... No, always... What is it about Nightman? Razor View. And we'll rename this to Day View Razor. Cool. Wait a sec. Yeah. That's the page. Okay, good. Good. Day View. So I need to pass into this. And I know... oh, man, you... Functions. I'm going to need to pass in a parameter. It's going to be the selected date. Yeah. Which means over here in availability, let's start off passing, right, this is going to be now day view. And now I need to pass in some parameters to that so it knows what to pass in. Right, and that parameter is, what was it again? Selected date. Not that page. This one. Selected date equals datetime dot, we'll start with today just to get it working. Okay, so Dayview now has a selected date and I can start formatting. Hey Kasukin, good seeing you. Is there maybe a way to make Karnak horizontal and perhaps below the follower bars? Horizontal and below the follower bars. Horizontal, no. I can change the width. I can make it fade a little bit faster. I can move it. Tell you what, I can move it up here. Right, that way it's up there, not over in front of the code. Yeah, I moved the follower bar below the screen just to make it easier. Dayman, fighter of the night, man. Yes, champion of the sun. All right, so select a date and. Because I think at some point I may want to have two day pickers next to each other up at the top. So you can see 2 months in a row or something like that. But instead of needs loads of customization, yes. All right. Let's see. So this time we're going to have a day picker. Right, we're going to have the hours. It's not even a picker. It's our schedule. Reset the grid. So instead, I'm going to have 2 columns. One that has the times in it. The second column will have, right, what your appointment is. So if I make this one, I want to make it not as wide. I want to make it like half of it. And this one, like, even more wider, right? And I want to show maybe 12 hours at a time. Because most people are going to want to see like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Putting Karnak in its own scene. Well, Karnak actually is an overlay over the video. I can't put it in its own scene. Put it in its own web source. Interesting. Okay, so I have that grid for this, which feels a little bit better because I can put the times over here for each hour. And over here, I'll actually create the grid. Is going to read it. Thank you for the raid, Matt. I appreciate the raid. We don't really need to, but I need to get a defend video set up. Thanks so much for joining us, Raiders. My name is Jeff Fritz. I really appreciate you joining us. We're working on building a little bit of schedule display for our resource management scheduling app. So we've got a really neat calendar that we just built using a little CSS. And we're about to add a grid here so you can see all the scheduled events throughout the day live right here. Thanks so much for the raid, Matt. What were you working on over on your channel today? Let us know there in the chat room, and I'll check in. I know there's a little bit of lag. So I'm going to copy this format. I'll copy that out to the clipboard, and I will separate out with a little bit of comment here. So this is going to be, let's call this day view. It's a grid, and it's got these columns with rows, column gap, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Some yak shaving, like always, for an EF Core provider. Nice. What do we got there? Pac-Man Jr. has a link for us. Yep, that's the tool we're using. CSS Grid Generator Netlify. There you go. All right. So, all right. So this is what my day view will look like. So let's give this... Okay, fine. Class equals day view. All right, so it's got 2 columns. I'm not doing anything with gaps yet. I'd really like to put a border between the columns. Right? Can we? Is that something we can do? Is create that border at the bottom, right? So that we actually get these lines. That would be really cool. Everyone's always got to do yak shaving. Absolutely. Right. So we were here. Can we turn on the column? Right, the column lines. No, I don't see that there. Layout. All right, we're over here in grid. Well, this is like a... That's so cool. The thing going around the outside. I can't read it at all, but it's cool. Is that Tex? Wow. Tex Fiend, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate you joining us. Yeah, border width, border style, but I don't want to have to allocate... Right, am I going to have to allocate cells for everything? Right, if I've got 12 rows going down, I'm going to have to allocate every cell in order to build the layout. I mean, I guess that's kind of what I want to do, right? So let's do a for loop, I guess. Right? For var I equals 0, I less than 24. And we're going to output spans, but when we're in the even numbered spans, we're going to put a time. I think we should start at like 8 a.m. just to give us something to start here. So, yeah. Span. If I mod 2 equals 0, so we get the even ones. Right? We're going to output a time. We need to count the time. So what's going to be the initial time? Let's do this. Date time dot. Let's call this. No, it's a looping thing. I don't want to put it down there, right? Var current time equals date time offset, right? I'm going to use an offset, new date time offset. I don't really care what year, I don't care what month, what day, but I do care that it's the 8th hour and 0th minute. I need more stuff there. Seconds. Can I just do null? No. Rats. Now? No. Hey, JK, it's going well. Thanks for asking. Can I do that? Good. All right. So I know it's 8 a.m., so now I'm going to echo here. Current time, toString, and I just want right hours, minutes, and then I said it.
And then?
AM PM indicator. Right, no, it's what's the AM PM indicator format? Date time format in C#. I want a custom format. That's in 4.8. Not that it matters, but I'm over here in this one. Not Z, it's TT, that's it. All right, and once I output that, I need to increment the current time by an hour. So at current time, let's put this in parentheses. Current time equals current time dot add hours 1. I think that's what I want. We need to. Gosh, that formatting is ugly. Oh my goodness. So that formats the span. Oh, I only want to do that. Yeah. Right? This should be text that we're outputting here. Like that. So I don't need to pivot back to Razor because it's still in Razor syntax. I think that works. I think that works. Change row and column gap to 1 pixel to set background and set background color for the lines. Really? Hugo. Schedule CSS. Okay, line 44. Yeah. So set that to 1 and set a background color. So if we set the background color to gray, just to get something. So that should output the dates and times.
And then?
Yes, and then line 43 to 1 pixel also. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see what it looks like. I need to get that code extension working. I really do. No, selected date does not exist. Sure it does. Sure it does. Right there. Right, if I'm calling that, there's one overload to it. Yeah, what's the overload? No. Take care, DJ Vortex. Thanks for joining us. This is render component async. Yep. And I'm passing a parameter. Nope, that's fine. Component async. Ah. And we need to pass it with a new object. Like that. Come on, fight me. Show me it works. That was quick, huh, DJ Vortex? And tell me it works. Show me. This could be good. Almost. So we do have the grid elements. But it didn't put the borders between them. Sultan TW. Welcome. Shazam or Womp Womp? Yeah, we're not quite there. So, okay, first off, I think the format of the font size of these needs to go down just a little bit. That's not too bad to do. Cell background color of white. Okay, so let's do a little bit of that. Dayview span. Background color. We'll make that. Thank you. No, I don't need all those. Refresh. Ah, there we go. Nice. Nice. All right, so I could put a border around the outside of that, right? 1px solid gray. We'll figure out better colors later, just to get something there. Nice. Okay. I need to make the fonts a little bit smaller there. So font size, let's make it all right. Now we're talking. I don't like the zeros in front of that. I know I got that because when I rendered the time, I made it HH. So let's just make it single H. Right? So, I mean, it'll be a little bit jagged in here, but that's okay. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. The next question is going to be... we need to fix that. Styles we'll clean up later. Right, so I've got... This is kind of weird, but I think for just a quick hour going through here, hour and a half, this isn't too bad. That didn't format properly. Right, that should be lower wise. And I think the background for the... Let's make this light gray. That's better. That's still not right, but I mean, I can restart this and see what it looks like. Fix that. Yeah, Hugo, you're right. Right align the time and it won't be jagged. All right, good point. It'll still be jagged on the left side. It'll be a jagged little pill. Where'd it go? There it is. I'm using Microsoft Edge Canary Edition. So this is running Chrome under the scenes for its HTML rendering. And, yeah, I know. I've angered it. It doesn't want to load. Try again. It'll be jagged now on the left side instead of the right side. Know what I mean? See? Not terrible, but works great. Automaton Studios, Automaton Studios, welcome. Thank you for the follow. It's not a Chromium-based web browser unless it has 400 meg with 2 tabs open and no extensions. 2 tabs. Nope, it's only about 140 meg. See? Even then, it's going down. So, for the ability to just be able to choose, and we'll set up on-click operations on these so we can on-click, have it navigate to that, and show you the appropriate schedule below. I also want to figure out, well, which day did we pass in here, and highlight that, and we should probably wire up these buttons real quick. What's the merit of wrapping Chrome just to serve Bing on new machines? The Simeon, the reason for wrapping Chromium is then everybody has the same HTML rendering. If everybody has the same HTML rendering, navigating to websites all looks the same. JavaScript engine will be a little bit different, but it gets everybody looking at and seeing the layout the same. 2 snails. There's a tiny one on the left. It removes the merit Edge had? No, disagree. Edge also has the ability to do all the authentication with Active Directory that you know and are familiar with from Internet Explorer, because it evolved from there. It also has the ability to do well, it's got a whole different privacy scheme that Chrome does not have. So Edge runs the Chakra JavaScript engine, not the V8. Different. Let's wire up these buttons real quick so we can get that navigation to flow, which means we're gonna run into a cascading property here, which is going to be a little bit interesting because I need to pass the same property from my day picker into my day view so that they're both managing and using the same thing. Interesting. So let's get the navigation. So on-click previous month, on-click next month. Those should actually, yeah, start date, add months -1. See, now I did the whole add days thing here. That to try and get to the first day of the month. So I could say start date. Now that I've done add month -1, I could say start date equals new date time. Start date dot year. Start date dot month 1. Just move it to the first day of the month. Right? Do the same thing down here. But what's interesting is those buttons don't actually do anything here yet. I feel like they're not wired up to the on-click. But it is on... because it should be like that. Stop. Restart. No, as Postgres and SQL Server are not the same. What's this? If you switch to MS SQL to Postgres, do you lose all the merit .NET Core has? What? .NET Core is completely different, right? So these should... There it goes. Nice. So I can select different months. I don't like how this is jumping. Right? I don't like how that's jumping. I feel like there should be a fixed height to the calendar and move it back and forth. But I'm feeling pretty good about how simple we built this. So I'm pretty happy with that. February 2020, look at that. 29 days. Nice. All right. How do we add some padding inside that grid? I feel like there should be just a little bit of padding on those. Right, if I do the gaps there, is there grid Not gap. No. No. Do I take these and say margin 2 pixels? And get that? Ah! Better. Need to read more about the new Edge. It's really just using Blink for the rendering engine, and most other engines, it's using Chromium. Yes. Yes, yes. Calendar should always have 6 rows, but it doesn't. Right, when I go to, right, that it has 6 rows for June. Right, it's only got 5 for July. If I added a 6th row there, it would be blank. But it would always be there. Falcon EKB, thanks so much for the follow, and I appreciate you joining us. There we go. Hide the last one when not needed, but keep the space. What if we put on month picker a min height? Right? Right, so there's month picker. Give me the computed. How tall is it? 320 by 210 when it's 6 rows. But that's in pixels. Right, is there a way to get that converted to EMs? Right, if we do that, right? Oh, it still jumped. Even though I said min height. It's 234. Oh, it's 234 when it's got more. So let's make it that. Right? You can put the calendar in its own container with a fixed height of rows. Oh, it's interesting that... How big are the spans when it's that size? 30. Ah, it jumped. Say it. Oh, no, I've angered it. Nuts. $240 pixels for 30 pixel rows. And dim the missing the missing cells and rows. Okay. Convert 1.87. Yeah, not quite sure what's happening there. I would need to know that I hit the last day and how many more days after that I need to fill in. Tell you what. This is a item that I'm going to add as an issue. Fix height of it is the day picker control. The day picker should always be the same height, regardless of the number of days in the month. And I will mark this as it's a bug, but I'm going to mark it as help wanted and good first issue. If somebody wants to come through and take that, they're welcome to. I am going to make sure I save all my things. Close this. Thank you. Head over here. And let's get cleaned up. Let's wrap up for the day today because I have a 12:30 meeting I need to get to. So let's check everything back into source control. Initial schedule UI work. I'm feeling pretty good about that. I will push that so it's in my local repository, and I'm going to create a pull request so it's over in the shared repository as well. There we go. And I'm going to put it, I want to put it into a new branch. Can I create a new branch here? Feature schedule UI. Can we do that? Can I do that? No, doesn't like that. Yes, good. So I'm taking it from mine and putting it over there. What do you mean there isn't anything to put? I know, I haven't created it yet. How do I create a new branch? Yeah. Feature schedule UI. Create it. There we go. Cool. Initial schedule UI. Create that pull request. Yup. And go ahead and merge it so that it's available on a branch that everybody can work on, everybody can see. You son of a bitch. I put it in the wrong place. Yeah. Darn it. Ugh. That feels terrible. Yeah, merge it. Revert that thing. Come on. Yeah, go back. Restart Mario. Thank you. Do it again. And we'll end up merging it out of there. So we're going to go into feature from feature. What do you mean there's nothing to compare? No, we're going to go from mine. Yes, compare across forks. We want to bring in mine. There we go. Create that pull request. Merge it. There we go. Now folks can see it. I'm not going to delete my branch because I'm going to continue working there next time. All right. Thanks so much for joining, everybody. This was great. I learned a lot. Thank you for sharing some of these links. This was really helpful to help me learn a little bit about CSS Grid, and I hope you learned a little bit as well. I saw our friend Code Rushed in here today. Is he still broadcasting? Let's see. It looks like he might be. Let's take a quick look over there. Thank you for the follows. I saw a couple of follows come through there. Is that Pengo Ray and Dentarius? Thank you for joining us. Yeah, let's raid our friend Code Rushed over there. So I'm going to set up the raid call. The raid call is real easy to do. We're going to get a block of text here that we can use when we get over to Mark's channel, over to Code Rushed, and announce ourselves. So if you're a subscriber, grab that first line of text with the raid bots. If you're not a subscriber, that's okay. Grab the second line of text with the missiles. And we're going to announce ourselves when we get over there to Mark's stream and have a good time checking out what he's working on over there. Yeah, bring your own favorite raid bots as well. Raid emotes. There we go. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining me. This is great. I had a lot of fun learning with you today. I'll be back on Thursday morning. I've got to set my schedule. Thursday morning, same time, and we will write some code together. We'll continue our user interface here, and we are going to build a really cool way for folks to visualize their schedule items in this resource manager application. Not Thursday night, no. Thursday night, I'm going to be catching up with our friend Quill Tony. She'll be in town, and I'll be able to see my good friend. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you for the follow. Is that Rajesh? But we'll see you next time. This video, of course, like all my other videos, will be archived over on YouTube within the next few days. All right? Take care, everybody. Say hi to Mark for me, and I will see you next time. Take care.